The Lassie Talks podcast.
Hi, I'm Yvonne.
And I'm Robert.
And welcome to Lassie Talks podcast, episode 9, where we will be talking about how to build a better bond with our dogs. This time, we're actually going to think about meet and greet.
Meet and greet, out and about?
Out and about, yes. I mean, a lot of us now are thinking post-lockdown about the fear issues dogs might experience when they're going out and about and meeting far more people and far more dogs.
Yes, and it's something that all puppy owners go through a process of going out with their puppy, very proud, and they want to show their puppy off, but it has to meet and greet.
But does it? Yes. Well, I think, to be honest, we all rush in to have our dogs meet and greet lots of people, and then actually we might be setting them up for failure because, you know, what's the other dog like? What are the people like? How are they going to react?
It's a bit like choosing the friends for your children.
Yeah, exactly. We've touched on this before. You want to actually figure out what that other dog is that going to be like when you're out on a walk, and remembering that actually not all dogs like puppies.
No, a lot of adult dogs do not like the attention, the inappropriate attention that a puppy that hasn't learnt its social skills, doggy social skills, might have put upon it, and it might be jumping all over an elderly dog that is stiff and creaky and perhaps in a little bit of pain, and that dog's going to tell the other dog off, and you can explain how that can easily escalate into problems with your puppy.
Yes, and I mean, in the olden days, they used to think this was a good idea, and I mean, I remember the days where we had our puppy, and they said, "Oh, it's fine that my adult dog is pinning your dog on the ground. It's not causing any harm. It's just telling your dog not to jump up all over it." What did you think of that now, in retrospect?
Well, when we look back and we have a dog that experienced that with a dog trainer that said, "My big German Shepherdy dog is going to tell your dog off," and our dog was quite traumatized by it. You know, it's very difficult to explain to the other dog, you know, just how far to go. And of course, your dog is, as a puppy, developing its own character, its own set of worldview. And of course, if it finds that, you know, quite a few of these dogs are attacking it, well, eventually it's going to think that the world is against it, perhaps, and maybe start to fight back. And then we have the classic dog-on-dog aggressive dog, which, you know, causes a lot of trouble for a lot of people and is very limiting.
Yeah, so I mean, we used to hold socialization classes where we actually used to match puppies with other puppies or another adult dog.
Very important to pick out the puppy, not only by size but also by character, as to, you know, outgoing puppy and a more withdrawn puppy. If you put the outgoing puppy and it became a bully on the other one, that's not going to give the more fearful dog a good start.
Yeah. So when you're out and about, I wouldn't suggest that you just allow your puppy to, you know, just choose his own friends.
Yes, it needs to be in a controlled situation. So perhaps a good dog club might be somewhere to start.
Yeah. But, you know, you have to, you know, be sensible. Sometimes you can actually, you know, look at the dog and say, well, I know that dog's going to be friendly. It's, you know, you just get good feeling.
That's your amygdala saying to you, and that's where good dogmanship comes in, to know what that dog is like by observing its behaviour and its stance and all its body language. And then if you know that it's...
and you ask the owner.
And you do. Yeah, they will say, "Oh, my dog doesn't like other dogs. Stay well clear."
Yeah, yeah.
Don't get into the situation.
I can remember with Fred, because, you know, he had lots of things. He got chased by those deer hounds. He'd got the trainer's dog pinning him down. then had the black Labrador from next door escape through and get in and started attacking him in his own garden, which was really scary. So we had to do lots of rehabilitation. And then when we went out on walks, people would say, "Oh, my dog's friendly." And we say, "Well, actually, ours isn't."
Yeah,
we had
it works
to.
both ways,
Yes.
doesn't it?
So, and it's lovely that your dog's friendly, but my dog wouldn't appreciate this right now. And because we're going through he went through a lot as a puppy.
He did more than average, I would say. But at the same time, over time, and now he's an older dog, and through your training and rehabilitation and introduction of other dogs, he's now pretty solid with other dogs.
Yes, it's great. And we went actually to parkour, didn't we? And played games around other dogs. So he really experienced that actually other dogs were not any of his business, but they were no threat. So he didn't have to bark and lunge to make them go away. But actually, when they were around, he got to play with me and climbing.
And he did really enjoy doing parkour, didn't he?
Yes, and jumping through hoops and
climbing on things
and sitting in a big tire and lots of things. And that's in his younger days. Poor old chap, he's got arthritis now. Well, as I say, we'll talk about arthritis on another occasion. But, he can't do that so much now. But he is definitely solid and will play with other dogs with all the right signals. And, but I like to finish the game. I don't let my dogs just play and play and play. I like to be...
How do you finish a game?
Well, I actually called my dog away. And that's where you have to start training for the out and about meet and greet. Puppies particularly are not very good at actually saying, "Oh, we've had enough here." And that's where arguments can start with another dog, isn't it?
Yeah, again, that boils down to this dogmanship, observing the situation, understanding the body language, knowing that things are at a point where, the time is to walk
Especially
on.
with an adult and another adult dog, you don't want them to have to take the position where they feel they have to tell puppy off and say, you're a bit over the top now. I don't appreciate being leapt on.
Yes.
Yeah. And
there comes a point with pretty well any adult dog that in the end it's pushed to the limit if your puppy is a particularly pushy puppy.
And sometimes these puppies haven't got the skill. Now, with a smaller dog, you can pick them up and take them away. There's nothing wrong and say, well, that game's finished now. But with a larger dog, a larger puppy, obviously lifting them up in the middle of the walk, not such an easy idea. But we want to actually finish the game. So I like to train before the walks how the dog learns to come away from playing with another dog. That is really difficult to work on.
Yes, the dog is clearly enjoying itself. It's having a lovely time. How do you get it back to you? What are the sort of tips you would give to owners to get to that point that they can call it away, even when it's having fun?
The thing is, sometimes it's just as sensible as, if the dogs are just playing on one spot, and often the adult dog is actually able to come away. And so, because the other owners train their dog, hopefully, and you can go up to the two dogs and say to the other owner, "We've got to go this way now," and hold your dog by its collar, and the other owner calls the dog away. And either if your dog is solid, you say this way and go the other way with following you. Again, tips on how to get your dog to follow you will be on the website. But what we want to do is actually say the game is finished. So that it's not pushing the other dog to take the lead.
Yeah.
Put then the dog on its lead and walk off till the other dog's out of sight. and then you can let the dog off again.
Yes, so you shouldn't feel bad about putting your dog on a lead in the middle of the walk to take
No.
it off a bit later.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's another thing is when you're out and about and, meeting and greeting other dogs, you've got to think about how the lead is still a useful tool. You could see the people coming along and think, not sure about this dog, and put your dog on a lead.
Better safe than sorry.
Absolutely. And remember that when you've got a situation like that, walk a big semicircle around the people. So
yes,
that
don't walk your dog nose to nose.
Yeah. And the problem is when you're out on a walk where there's a narrow pathway, with fence on either side, which we've experienced, haven't we, on country walks? Sometimes there's, a route that they've put in for the dog walkers. And I get very cross with that because they're very often the route isn't wide enough for two dogs to pass. So
yes, maybe they'll have to rethink that with, social distancing that we might have to be doing.
Yeah.
So, we need a bit of wide space. The more space you've got, the better it is, the easier it is to cross paths, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, I was out with Joy the other day when you were picking up our medications from the doctor. Poor old things we are. We have to go out and get our medications. Joy, I decided to walk up the road while you went in the shop, and a big bull mastiff type. I don't know if it was, but I think it was a crossbreed, but that sort of big macho looking dog. And Joy was going to come nose to nose because we're on a narrow path on the pavement. But the pavement, the pavements around here in Kent are often raised up high, so I couldn't step out onto the road because we were above the road. So what I did is I actually stepped, and this is where you have to be rude to other people. But I think the other owner appreciated it. I stepped in front of Joy so that she felt safe. I'm not sure how the other dog would have reacted, but in the days of lockdown, we're not allowed to, come in contact.
You can't stand and talk and have a conversation, can you?
Yeah, but he was a stranger, so I stepped aside, as they do say in the adverts, and the chap got my back to look at, stepped in front of my dog, and actually, as he walked past, he said, "Thank you very much," as he walked past quite quickly,
And both dogs passed without incident.
And I said, "Good girl, treat," because it's the first time she's seen a dog as big as her. And then we walked on without incident. I think the mistake that often owners make is that your dog has to say hello to every dog.
Yes, that's a good point, isn't it? And, dogs don't need to say hello to everybody, every other dog, just as you don't walk up to strangers and say hello and spark up a conversation with every stranger you see. There are a lot of people that would do that, but they're not always responded to by the other person, and the same applies to dogs. So, be observant of what the body language of the other dog is and the other person.
Yeah. And the thing is, then if you create this situation where your dog meets lots of, and gets into trouble with other dogs, where the other dog feels the need to snap or tell your dog off, then they think, well, we'll act first and pull, bark and lunge at the other dog. And because the other dog is going a different way anyway, it's, your dog will think that they've achieved what they were trying to achieve.
Self-reinforcing, isn't it, by situation?
Yeah, and then they go, well, if I bark and lunge, that other dog will go away. In fact, it had nothing to do with them, but they don't know that. And then the pressure on the neck hurts. So then they go, that when I see another dog, I always hurt my neck. And that's why sometimes, we're having harnesses on a puppy is useful, so that they don't get that pull.
That pinching and
on the
tightening
neck
around the throat.
Yeah, and then, having the row at the other dog is going the other way anyway, but they think, oh, I've achieved it. Then you've got your dog walking down the street thinking they've got to bark and lunge at every dog they see and clear the streets. And they think because you pull tightly on the lead because you know that's going to be embarrassing and you wish the world will swallow you up because you've got this barky, lungy, and it can be a little dog.
Oh, yes. Often is a little dog.
Yeah, on the end of the lead. And you know there's a dog coming, and you get really tense. And, then they bark and lunge and they, the owner is saying to their dog, oh, there is something to be afraid of, and they think, well, what's the matter with Mum when she tightens up the lead? There must be something scary coming.
Yeah. They're feeding off your emotion of apprehension of the situation because it's happened previously.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I want to get owners to realise it's not all about the dog doing wrong things, that actually we trigger behaviours sometimes, even if we don't know it. And I get clients to sing Nellie the Elephant when they go out on walks.
You can't be tense when you're singing Nellie the Elephant.
No, you've got
I won't ask you to sing it now.
No, I'm a terrible singer. It's not my forte.
But you're singing it to yourself. You don't have to necessarily sing it out loud, do you? Or do you think that helps?
I think it actually helps to sing it out loud because it has been proven in research that dogs do, pick up the tune and are relaxed by certain beats, and
well, it goes back to our, the reverse of the coin of sound sensitivity, isn't it? Maybe there are sounds that they enjoy, as opposed to sounds that they are apprehensive about. So, it probably would work. Yeah.
So,
and it's good to be able to walk down the street singing.
Well, perhaps, you
may get a few looks, though.
Yes, yeah. And I always do, say Nellie the Elephant because it gets your client to laugh.
Puts a smile on your face.
Yeah, and it makes them realise actually it's not all bad and that it is a struggle that they can get through. They can get out and about. The dog doesn't have to bark and lunge at other dogs. But I do suggest to them as well that they play lots of lead walking in the garden with distractions and play the game of the pressure on the lead means you ping back to me because we're always working with this opposition reflex on the lead, aren't we? Where, you pull and they
pull forward.
They will
pull back, they pull forward.
Yeah, they'll pull opposing. But you play the game in the garden where you just give a little bit of pressure. They go, oh, ping back to you, feed. So you keep playing that. So when you're out on the walk and that they feel that pressure, instead of getting the opposition reflex, you actually get them pinging back to you.
Yeah, that would work well, wouldn't it? It's something that you would need to practice quite a bit at home for them to get almost reflex to that pull.
Yeah, yep. So you are actually flipping that reflex on its head.
Yep.
It's a natural reflex, but we're actually changing the roots in the mind.
And of course, as with all these things, the earlier you start, the quicker and better the results are going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So it takes work and you don't get very far. Okay.
No. So you're back to, you start your going out for a walk in your house and in your back garden if you have one.
Talking about going out for a walk, poo bags.
Yes. There's nothing more annoying than people not taking a poo bag with them and their dog's doing a poo. And maybe this is a good point for me to just mention
your health tip.
Two things. One is make sure that your dog's diet, and there are so many diets out there, suits your dog. How do you know if it suits your dog? Well, your dog's poo, its stool, should have a good, well-formed structure to it. It should be firm enough, and as we say, firm enough to kick it. Without it just sticking to the end of your foot.
And it
should.
makes it easier to pick up, let's face
It makes it easier to pick up. It's much
there's nothing
easier
where
to squid you on. No.
Yes.
So if your dog, all dogs will get a slightly squid you on now and again, and dogs will scavenge things and do that. The other thing that I must just pop in is to remind people, now they're getting out and about with their dog, that dogs can pass parasites to one another. Intestinal parasites. So do remember to have a regular worming regime. And if you're in somewhere that suffers the lungworm situation, then you may need to have a word with your vet to get an effective lungworm preparation used perhaps on a monthly basis. But the recommendation is worm your dog every 3 months for intestinal parasites.
Right.
Can I leave it at that?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Horrible things, aren't they?
But not only are they a health issue for your dog and other dogs, spreading it about, but there's also a potential for some of the worms to cause trouble with humans. So be careful. Do it regularly.
Yeah. And that's why, get a good bag that, when you're picking them up.
Oh, yeah. And of course, wash your hands.
Yeah.
That's a habit we've all got into now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I think that's a good place to finish our today's, this time, the podcast.
Where can you get more information?
From our website, www.lassietalks.com. And do listen to our next podcast too. We've got loads of training tips and health tips. And we're also on Facebook. So see you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Lassie Talks. If you would like to get in touch or have any questions, then please visit lassietalks.com or visit our Facebook and YouTube page. Every dog has a Lassie's heart. So remember, we need to make our homes the best place for our dogs to be. See you soon at the next episode of Lassie Talks. Lassie Talks was recorded and produced at Monkey Nut Audiobooks.